So, now we have addressed some of the story beats and quirks in the world building that I think should be in your mind, or you could potentially consider when looking at Hexcore, or the way Hexcore is contextualized in the story as we know now without season 2. Finally, this is the part where we talk about Hexcore, the evil lab pet storyline, one of the most fake storylines of season 1. So this is mostly deductions on my part, and it will be wrong, or to a degree wrong. We'll defer to Occam Razor's of simplest explanation or view, and won't be considering unintroduced or unestablished possible lore elements like the Void. So at this point, Arcane is supposed to have 2 seasons. We are halfway through the season, halfway through the whole story. If anything is unestablished, I will disagree, but could be potentially explained by lore. I'm just gonna disregard it. It makes no sense at this point from writing perspective. Hexcore in concept is to be an arcane multi-tool of sorts that can have several functions. Just like mages, it communicates with the arcane or harnesses it while it learns new skills and evolves. I envision it like a basic machine, just issued an instruction and it will try to complete it. The hex score is solved by Viktor, who inconveniently faints as it whirls to life. The first thing this evil cube does is steal a sample of his blood to run off with it, God knows where, coding a weird geometric pattern as we're treated to a flight sequence similar to the magic teleport gate of Jayce's flashback. We've seen similar geometric pattern spring from Crystal when agitated in Act 1, but those patterns are fragmented. I can only assume that stabilizing crystal structure made the inside a more stable pattern. What exactly happened in this sequence is uncertain, but in the supplementary material Cancer Archives for Jayce, in the chapter Far From Home, we get possible explanations or theories. Entry 3. I have collected several theories I've discovered on my journeys on how the power of the arcane might be harnessed. Crystals form bonds with a sole user. Their power is channeled through it. Can a device be created to manufacture such connection? What determines the bond? To answer this entry, I assume it can be manufactured. I think we've just seen this part. Entry 4. The interaction with the crystal is generated by power from any user. Does the power react with the crystal externally or internally? Could this power be recreated successfully and repeated? I assume it's internally at this point, but we'll see season 2. So I think it's safe to assume that the crystal is now bonded with Viktor. He can actually just at best poke at it. See, Viktor is not a person with magical abilities, so unlike the mage from the flashback, he can't just use its power. Also, for the visible to the viewer area around the hex core, the only explanation I found is also from Jayce's Council archives. Entry 7, my own theory. The arcane is a field around us, invisible to the naked eye, but ever present. With careful use of a particular source of energy, still unknown, we can crack into this field and merge it with our own reality. I assume now around the hex core, the energy field is belongs to this hex core or this crystal, and it's only to be used by Viktor. But we'll see. Nobody ever knows. It might be just a funny visual. Anyway, since our primary point of view character wasn't around to see Hexcore fully working, he only connects that Hexcore work with his blood, so it should also work with other organic matter. But Hexcore does not respond to plants well, or plants to it, since it's only bonded to Viktor probably. In the end, the plants are being electrocuted by arcane energy, and as we can surmise from real world plants, they don't take too well to this. Then there's the Hexcore prophecy scene we've already spoke about that establishes that Hexcore is in fact evil that destroys the nations. Since Heimerdinger is no help, Viktor consults with his friend, probably the only doctor the Undercity has ever seen, why the Hexcore is not working, and is offered Shimmer to facilitate the transition. We, even Viktor, already know the doctor is evil, because he didn't save the magic dragon friend, which was already dying. Instead, he only wanted to harvest Shimmer version of Rennet from Rio's organs. And the doctor's reputation precedes him. If he's singed, he's the mad chemist that was thrown out of Piltover for doing mad unethical science because he's a mad scientist. If he's Oriana's father, Corinne Ravec, he had seen his daughter die in increments due to illness caused by pollution in the Undercity's air when she went there to help people of Zaun after a toxic spill. Something that understandably would make him an unhinged, broken man. We'll probably see in season 2 which is more likely cause for him joining Silco and his rebellion against Piltover. Let's decide how that goes. And we get to experiment number 1 that goes like this. Inject yourself with Shimmer and hope evil cube doesn't kill you like the plants, just transforms parts you indicated. And surprisingly, it works. Flip side, he could just die, but you go, Viktor. We are shown how the transmutation is supposed to work. The runes on organic matter light up in pink, the runes on inorganic matter light up in blue, like here. We can deduce that Shimmer allows the arcane energy to flow through organic matter without burning it. From the perspective of scientific method, with empirical evidence of success, Shimmer plus Hextech equals transmutation of directed body part. Here Viktor is still in his sane let's do science with scientific method phase, so he tests the theory on a body part, which if it doesn't work out, shouldn't kill him. But that's not gonna last very long. Just a word about Shimmer. The technology that has saved the most lives on screen, both Vice and Jinx's, and probably like any technology we are showcased up until now, it ruined just as many lives or more. Shimmer is a substance that, among other things, has pain-reducing qualities, since transmutation through arcane means is pretty violent. While we have no confirmation where it comes from in the show, it's most likely the flowers being broken down by Rio's stomach lining. Most probably later, Rio's cells were used to manufacture apparatuses that produce Shimmer. They have this organic form as we see. In essence, Shimmer is condensed Rio vomit. I'm not sure you wanted to have this mental image, but now you have it. Though I do love the idea that Shimmer is some direct substance that seeped from the void and the whole of the Undercity is getting high on void. In the same sequence, we also see transformation of Viktor's blood into a weird purple particle which points that most probably Shimmer plus Hextech is the solution to transform an ordinary human into one that can use arcane energy in some form. And we'll put a pin to it because it's actually gonna come back a bit later. With empirically confirmed success of experiment number 1, we arrive at experiment number 2. This time there's a hitch in the setup. There's no Shimmer. The Hexcore shows signs of heat damage, most likely because it actually can sustain discharging this much of arcane power. We're off to a good start. Shimmer or no Shimmer, Viktor is still going to go through with this because what could go wrong? There's scientific method was just invented because people like to have a method, not because it actually helps you do science, right? But this kind of risk-taking, what could go wrong attitude, character trait has been very well established in Act 1 for him, so you kind of knew it's gonna happen. And the moment we see the experiment happening, visually we already know the transmutation is not working because neither organic or inorganic matter lights up properly. Hexcore is a piece of technology. It is instructed to complete transmutation, and it will aim to complete the instruction even if the instruction is not executable. The only thing that saves Viktor's life here is Sky. because Sky is the best girl of the show. I think everybody agrees on that. But replicating results without following scientific method is a right? Sometimes you die, and sometimes you explode your assistant like a resistor because energy has to dissipate somehow. Talking from experience here about resistors, not assistants. For the sake of scientific methods, let's just note Hextech without shimmer, no transformation, because arcane power can't flow through organic matter without shimmer. When Viktor awakens from what is probably his life of science biggest failure, we can see that the arcane energy discharge not only disintegrated Sky, but also melted the Hexcore. I'll just call this Hexcore's proper evil lab pet face. This new Hexcore exhibits something it has never done before, a form of agency. Just imagine you're a piece of technology, maybe some form of AI, that gained some semblance of basic sentience and awareness. And the first thing you see is your creator trying to destroy you by smashing you with a chair. Look at this poor evil thing shiver as it tries to run away, but it can't really run away very fast because it can only discharge a bit of gas. I mean, that's so cute. And of course, it's obvious that saying this kind of behavior, Viktor won't be able to go through with the whole destroy the evidence of his failure course of action, because that would mean killing something that exhibits signs of sentience and life. And we've already seen how he reacts to non-human actors like Rio in his flashbacks. So the evil lab pet stays until someone with a colder heart can dispose of it. Like any animal that was cornered and threatened, the moment Viktor turns his back on Hexcore, it zaps him in retaliation. Piece of advice: don't threaten animal with chairs, and follow scientific method when doing science. Since we put the pin into Viktor's blood being transformed by the Hexcore, we can see the electricity travel from his leg throughout his whole body up to his head. So that means that this particle is now probably flowing throughout his whole body, even if only some parts of his body are transformed. Finally, the true cold-hearted individual of this series appears to save the day. Jayce is tasked to destroy Hexcore, as if it's some inconvenient spider that has to be removed from their lab. Just Viktor doesn't have the heart to do it, which is a bit melodramatic, but since both of them have recently achieved life's goal biggest failures, Viktor basically agreed with Heimerdinger's position that Hexcore is dangerous and by extension he shouldn't live. And Jayce agreed with Viktor because honestly, not agreeing with Viktor has statistically proven to not work out for Jayce every single time. In this chain of not trusting own judgment, Heimerdinger's initial judgment it is. We should all celebrate because finally Heimerdinger is right. As we know after season 1, there's nothing good that can come from people working together or these two trusting their own judgment. There's of course alternative explanation to consider to why Viktor can't destroy Hexcore and Jayce has to do it. Viktor is now possessed by Hexcore, the evil lab pet, and after disintegrating his lab assistant, something that he took also very well, he now devised an evil scheme to also make a blood sacrifice of his lab partner to his overlord cube. I mean, this is totally in character for him, and it totally flows from the start of the scene to his request. So, this is the gist of Hexcore development for season 1. I personally adore the concept, it's a fledgling AI, but you decide what you think. Just remember, Hexcore is evil, Heimerdinger said so. And that's all, folks. Thanks for watching.